Hi, I have been wanting to make this video for a long time. It might go a little long, so hopefully I can keep things short and concise. But I wanted to cover knitting in the round and the different ways you can do that and the different tools that you can use for knitting in the round. So I guess I'll just jump in. One of the main things that you know about most likely with knitting in the round, if you've looked into it really at all, is circular knitting needles. They're kind of the most obvious tool to use, and they look something like this. They are two needles connected by a wire, and that provides your circle for knitting in the round. The other more obvious tool that you would use is double-pointed knitting needles. So basically they don't have one end and one tip, they have two tips. And it doesn't look obvious, but yes, you can make a circle with these. I have quite a few different ones here as well. Some are metal and some are plastic and some are bamboo. Bamboo is a really great starting tool because they're not very slippery, so you're not going to lose your stitches as quickly. Now the other option is a really versatile tool that I just love. These are the Addy Clicks, and they're a set of knitting needles that are circular, but they aren't connected immediately. They have interchangeable wires, so they're very versatile. And all you have to do is you insert the wire in, and it clicks, and then you have essentially a circular knitting needle. Now obviously, if you're going to use circular knitting needles, they're very useful. Myself, if I'm knitting in the round on a small project, I won't choose circulars just because I find that they're more clumsy. But why don't we start off with looking at how to start knitting on circular knitting needles and how that looks joining your work from beginning to end so that it's a circle. And then we'll get into working with double-pointed needles. So this is my Addy Clicks with a pile of roving cast-on stitches. And this is the one that I will be showing you how to work with a circular needle. And I can show you also the magic loop method for working with circulars. Next I have some double-pointed needles, and I've started a little tiny circle here. I don't know if you can tell that that's a circle. But this one will be good for showing you how to continue knitting and explaining the knitting versus purling. Then I have this project which I had started as a diaper cover, the top of a diaper cover, and this is a work that I'm already doing that, while it looks like it fits, is definitely worked with magic loop, and this is also knit and purl, which are not very different on in circular knitting, but just a little bit to keep in mind. And then this project is just a project for anybody who's reading the blog and knows that I've been working on a sweater. So this is kind of a sneak peek of the sweater that I haven't really been able to post because I've made some very, very big mistakes. But this is it so far. You can see it has a little bit of sleeves and some fronts and a back. Alrighty, so here is our circular knitting needle, and it has already quite a few cast-on stitches, but that's all I've done so far. Now the next instruction you will most likely read in your circular knitting is to join the work. Now the most important thing to remember when you're joining your circular work is you can see that there's a bit of a ridge on the bottom of this knitting needle, and that carries on around the entire work. And you have to make sure that all of that ridge is facing in the same direction, that all of these little loops are going the same way. And all of mine are pointing down, so I'm going to just make sure, see here, they're kind of twisted, just make sure that it carries on, that it maintains the same direction. So here we go. Now it's a little bit, it's straighter, and I can tell that from beginning to end, they're all facing down. So now, keeping them all in the same direction, I bring my front round to my back here. And actually this is backwards, so I need it, my end on my left, right, and my beginning on my right. Now basically all you have to do is carry on knitting as you would a second row. So here's my knitting needles, knitting. So once you have that first stitch and you know that that all of your stitches are kind of pointed in the same direction, all you have to do is knit. It's a pretty simple concept in that sense, but the key is really making sure that at the point at which you join your stitches, that these are all facing the same direction, so that you're not going to get a tangled ball of yarn. So now I'll just knit a few more stitches to show you what it'll look like. And this is roving, so it's quite thick stuff, but it's nice to show you so you can see the individual stitches. I'll just tighten that at the end there. See, and this is the unknit, just cast on stitches connected to the second row of stitching. Now that brings me to a really good point, is that a lot of circular knitting instructions tell you to place a stitch marker at the beginning of your round. So if you are freaking out because you forgot to place your stitch marker at the beginning of your round, it's pretty easy to find the beginning of your round because it will always have this same spot. It will always have this tail yarn here. So you'll always know that this is the beginning and this is the end of the round. The next thing I wanted to cover is knit versus purl. So I'll show you that on the double pointed knitting needles.